Thompson, and I'm going to speak on the Sam Sayers disappearance in Washington State on Vesper Peak. I was one of the investigators who took part in the after search once the official search had been canceled, and I'm making this video to offer a more down-to-earth version to the public about what actually happened to Sam without all the sensationalism, and hopefully I can convince other members of the after search and maybe some other professional teams or hot military teams to come out to Vesper Peak and search the slope that I believe Sam wound up on. So right now we're looking at a Cal Topo map. If you'd like to follow along on the map, you can open to caltopo.com, put in Vesper Peak or Sunrise Mine Trail, and you will come to this topographical map. So this is a 4-mile out and back with 4,200 feet of elevation gain. The hiker, Sam Sayers, is 28 years old. She came here. I am about to put the camera right in front of this tower called Eros Tower. Let me go over there. Bang. You are looking north now into the Boulder River Wilderness area. This valley is the Stillaguamish River Valley. This road is the Mountain Loop Highway. It's running east to west in this photograph. When it goes east behind this hill, it comes to a place called Barlow Pass. On the other side of Barlow Pass is the Sauk River Valley that runs north to Darrington. This is the road that Sam Sayers came out and parked at. The name of the trailhead is the Sunrise Mine Trailhead. It's that little scratch of woods right there. The trail starts, it crosses 3 streams, this being the third, before it climbs a brushed slope and deposits you into the headwaters of the Stillaguamish River Basin, South Fork of the Stilly. You can actually see the trail running up here to a place called Headley Pass. It's basically stepping rock to rock. This isn't a trail you could come and get a workout on in any way, shape, or form. And let me zoom this out. Bam. And you are getting a full view of Vesper Peak. You are looking west. This is the east aspect of Vesper Peak. This is Sperry Peak. The trail goes and it comes up to a place called Headley Pass. Let me zoom in on that a little bit. You can see the trail switchbacking up here to Headley Pass. Headley Pass is a very important place in the Sam Sayers discussion, and you really have to understand this aspect of the mystery to understand it. On the close side, I've mentioned a couple times, this is the South Fork of the Stillaguamish River. And on the other side of this pass is the Sultan River and the Sultan Basin. You can even see the Sultan Basin right here, Spada Reservoir, over the southeast ridge of Vesper Peak. This is the Puget Sound lowlands. You can make out a little wisp of Puget Sound, and that is the Olympic Mountain Range in the distance. Anyway, Sam left her car at 10 a.m., and she had ascended to Headley Pass by noon. At noon, she met a 6-person contingent of Boy Scouts at the top of Headley Pass. And this was the first of about 30 different people that saw, photographed, said hello to, or interacted with Sam between Headley Pass at 4,800 feet and Vesper Summit at 6,200 feet. Now, from this perspective, looking at Vesper, it looks like the Matterhorn or something like that. But as a general rule of thumb, when you look at pictures of mountains, you can't tell how steep something is until you put your nose right up on it. It is steep. It is an alpine slab. I wouldn't call it a hike. It's definitely the bargain basement of alpine climbing, but many hikers come up and accomplish it anyway. That's actually Sam, circled right there in red, and this is at 5,150 feet, and this arm is right after you cross the creek, the outlet of Lake Elon that becomes Vesper Creek and heads south into the Sultan River. These are where there's a few alpine campsites that have become pretty popular. Let's see, the next and last photo we have of Sam is over here on Facebook, and I'm going to play this short video. That's actually Sam right there. The guy zooms in a little bit more. I want you to notice when you see this video that it's a perfect blue sky day. It's about 75 degrees up here on Vesper, and there's not a wisp of wind. I don't think you get the audio with my recording method, but here we go. So there's Sam right here, Sam Sayers. We can see she has, at this point, I believe, long pants, a backpack, ski poles, a hat. She's alone. She's probably taking a picture. She's got her phone up, and it's in the landscape orientation. And thank you to the guy who took this video and got it to the search. We really appreciate this. He zooms back out, and now he's panning north. This is at about 5,600 feet elevation on the alpine slab I just showed you and was discussing the steepness of. Let's run through this one more time. So that's looking towards Vesper Summit, but you can't see the summit. And this little piece of terrain that he ends on, bang, that is called Wolf Peak. Let me go back to the map real quick. Oop. So there's Wolf Peak, and that video was taken somewhere right in here on this marked route. Notice I call it a route because we're now into the bargain basement of alpine climbing, and it's not a trail because we're no longer hiking. Anyway, that took place pretty much even with that. So that was around 1:30, and Sam makes it up here to Vesper Summit, in my estimation, around 2 p.m. to 2:15 p.m. So this is now Sperry Peak. The camera's facing east. That's Glacier Peak in the distance. Sloan Peak showing up back there. This is Lake Elon right here, and this is the outlet stream that you actually cross. I'm going to zoom in. There's Headley Pass at 4,800 feet. So on the other side is the South Fork of the Stillaguamish River Basin, and on the near side is the Sultan River Basin. So her car is parked in the South Fork of the Stilly. You have to come through Headley Pass to tag Vesper, and you have to go back through Headley Pass to get back to the parking area in the South Fork of the Stilly. There is no other way. That's what you need to understand about this Sam story, is Headley Pass is a turnstile that she had to tag coming and going. Okay. So the first picture I showed you that was really blurry is right here, and it was almost from the same orientation. And the second photo I showed you was from somewhere in here. Of course, you can see there's no snow in this version of the photograph. And that is Wolf Peak that you're seeing right there. Okay. So this is 1 August 2018. It's a Wednesday, and we have Sam up here on the summit at 2 p.m., and then she disappears. And as the story went, her boyfriend didn't get a phone call he was expecting, so he came out and looked for Sam, couldn't find her. So he goes and calls 911, and in the morning, Snohomish County Search and Rescue shows up, and they start what is the largest search in Washington state history. And for the first 5 days, we have absolutely no idea what happened to Sam. None. And that, I think, is what made this such a sensationalistic case. Was someone was on a day hike just right out of town, and she's seen by 30 people inside the span of a few hours, and then she's up and gone. And we have no idea which way she went or what happened to her. This was a Wednesday. Sunday morning, someone who had been on the summit with Sam actually recognized or realized that there was a search going on and that he had been up there on Vesper Summit. And let me go to, see if I can find his words. Here they are. The summit witness called 911 and came and gave a statement, and I'm going to read that statement now. I got up to the Vesper Peak trailhead at about 10:45 a.m. or something like that. I started hiking the trail about 11 a.m. I'm aware of Samantha and who we're talking about. 100%. She is unique. I got up to the summit between 2:30 and 3 p.m. I saw Samantha Sayers. I know her name now because of the news. She was sitting down eating a sandwich with lettuce. She was sitting a little bit east of the summit, almost at the summit. She was sitting next to two rock climbers who were standing watching two other rock climbers on the face. First thing that came to my mind was that Samantha was in the group of rock climbers because she was sitting and talking to them. The two rock climbers she was talking to were waiting for more climbers to get to them. She smiled. We we greeted each other, said hi, said beautiful weather. First came to mind was that she shaved her head. She had alopecia, this is known. We were at the top of the mountain in the same area for about 5 to 10 minutes. She was about 15 to 20 feet east of me. She was wearing a black sports bra, gray hiking pants, and had a small backpack. We just saw that in the last video of Sam, which would not have had much in it. She went down a snow-covered ridge, southwest, possibly. I forgot about her for a while. Then about 10 to 15 minutes later, I saw her on the south side of the mountain, the wrong side of the mountain. She was too far away by then to stop her. I asked the climbers if there was any access to the trails. I actually talked to one guy, and he didn't have any idea and didn't seem to care. She disappeared behind the trees after going down across the snowfield. That was the last time I saw her. I normally carry a whistle with me, and I forgot it then. It was in my car. I got back to the trailhead at about 7 p.m., maybe a little before or after. Sunday morning, I was reading news on the computer, and Samantha was missing. I saw her picture and was 100% sure it was her. I called 911, and I was put in touch with the search team. I later came out to Big 4, and I showed the rescue team the map. They asked me to go in the helicopter. It looked different from the air, but I was 100% sure when I pointed out while in the helicopter, I saw from helicopter the watershed towards Spada Lake, which is where it looked like she was going. When Samantha left, she was by herself. Okay, and he drew a sketch. Here's the summit witness sketch. This is the summit of Vesper Peak, and here is Sam, and here is the summit witness. Just as he wrote, Sam was sitting east above the rock climbs. I'm going to show you those in a second. Here's the appropriate way east, down across the Alpine slab, back past the lake, back through Headley Pass. And he shows here is Sam's way, and he shows a little piece of high ground right here. Let's go back to the Summit 360. So, you are looking southeast right now. The summit is directly below you. And you can even see someone sitting right there on the summit when I get the cursor and those mini screens that pop up out of the way. Okay, so our summit witness is here, and Sam was a little bit more over here at this abyss looking off into the low ground at the rock climbers. She walked down a rock ridge, which is getting more sun than the slab. That's why the slab still had snow on it. It gets the morning sun, and then the sun comes around here in the afternoon to the west. Anyway, so Sam came down to this place that I call Sam's Call on the map, and then she went down to this side of Sam's Call, which is the south side of the mountain, or the south aspect. Okay. So at this point, Sunday morning, 5 days into this, the SAR team now understands they have a summit witness that says she went this way, and they have cell pings from the top of the mountain that assure Sam was not only here, but also that she went south. Now, the cell pings didn't show exactly she went to the south side of the peak. There were two pings, one more from the summit and then one more down from this area. So what they did with that information, they brought in a tracking team, a guy named Bob Brady, who I didn't know at the time, but I now know, and I've come to both like and respect Mr. Brady and consider him a mentor. And he is still 110% on this case and wants to see it solved. So they brought Mr. Brady's tracking team in, and he came in and actually found Sam's tracks and tracked them down to this canyonous feature right here at 5,150 feet. So to give you an idea, the second to last photo we took of Sam down at the campsites, that's 5,150 feet. That is an hour's travel from Vesper Summit up here. So by the time Sam got down to last track, which is over here, it must have been almost 4 p.m. Now here is what a lot of people don't understand about this day. At 4 p.m., 1 August 2018, a Wednesday, one of the 3 teams that were on the mountain, 3 teenagers with 2 young adults as guides. There were 2 YMCA teams, 1 Boy Scout team. She met the Boy Scout team at Headley Pass at noon. The other YMCA teams had also seen her. One of the YMCA teams at 4 p.m. started their way up this route and came up to Vesper Summit. And they arrived at Vesper Summit at 5 p.m. and they remained on Vesper Summit until 10 p.m. enjoying this spectacular view and day. The day they had was a lot less hazy than the day you're seeing right now. You could see the Olympic Mountains, and you're looking out the Strait of Juan de Fuca here and at Vancouver Island, and it's really something else. It's an amazing view. But what I want you to notice is the commanding view you have 360 when you're on Vesper Summit. Now, obviously, it's not as good as this. This is taken from a drone, and it's up off the ground a little bit. But the point I want to make is even if Sam had turned around at last track and started back up the mountain, she is in a much rougher area than this alpine slab. It's easier to walk up this alpine slab than it is the south side or the south aspect of Vesper Peak. It would have taken Sam more than an hour to gain the 1,000 feet she lost to come back up here to Sam's call, and she would have been seen by these 6 people who spent the entire evening on the top of Vesper Peak. That's one way we know Sam didn't come back up the mountain. The 2 other ways we know Sam didn't come back up the mountain are her cell phone didn't ping again, and your cell phone definitely pings on Vesper Summit. The tracking team didn't find any tracks of hers going back up the mountain. Now, the reason the tracker had to stop down here is these guys were, first of all, they wanted to do some more tracking on the other side of Headley Pass and ensure that she didn't get back there in any way, shape, or form, which now in hindsight was unnecessary. And then it's such big country up here, and it's so alpine, and it's getting steeper and steeper as you start to go down this hill. Notice that, like, you can see part of the hill, but then it drops off behind this ridge, and you can't see the full run of the hill. And this is what the hills look like out here. They're very steep, and they're very cliffed. So that's a problem for the tracker as well. He's, I think he was in his 60s when this happened. He's now retired. Anyway, it was getting late in the day, and he called his tracking team out of there, and so we were left with this place last track. Let me go to the map, and oops, there we are. Let me actually flesh some of this out on the map so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's start here. So I'm going to drop a pin here. And this is lunch. Sam's call. This is going to be place last seen as she was dropping down the hill. And then the tracker came in and tracked her all the way down to 5,150 feet. 52, so 5,150, and she was just on this side of this feature. Let me add right here one more marker, and we'll call this last track. Okay. So this is where we're at. Last track at 5,150 feet, and for the reasons I stated, I do not believe Sam came back up the hill. So that means Sam had to go down the hill. What options would that give her? She had two. Her first and best option, if she was going down the hill, well, no, her best option would have been go back up to the known point, go back up to the people, go figure out what was going on, and go the right way down the hill. That's definitely the easiest way out of Vesper Peak. Going down the hill, she had two options. One would be come all the way down here. This is the West Fork of Vesper Peak, get through all this intermittent cliff terrain, and then hike back up Vesper Peak, picking through more cliff terrain back to Headley Pass. That would be a bad option. I'm going to discuss that further. This, in the first year this happened, it was really, I was wondering if that was possible or not. Anyway, the other option is to drop all the way down to the Sultan River and the old Sultan River Road, and then walk the 4 miles or so to this river crossing on the Sultan River. And then this is no longer really a trail. The road has become, well, it's been shut down for years, and it's very soft ground in here. So when it floods, silt comes in, and the road's been essentially erased. And she didn't have a map or a compass or anything like that. Anyway, the nearest parking area is right here now, way out on the Sultan Basin. So the idea that she would have gone from last track thousands of feet down the hill onto the old Sultan River Road, which is covered in slide alder, and I'll show it to you later on photos, and then walked all the way out here without a map and by herself after walking in and gaining 4,000 feet is ridiculous. Okay. In fact, after spending years in this area searching for Sam and getting to know this area really well, I can tell you with certainty that the idea that Sam went down the mountain from last track and walked out to a parking area before dark, there aren't enough zeros on a pocket calculator to figure the odds of that happening. It didn't happen. So, let me get back to a word on the official search. And that is that when they didn't know where Sam was on the first days of this, they did a policy of two things. One, they went out from the summit, and then they did a policy of containment, both here on the Sultan River Road, over here on Williamson Creek, and then here on the South Fork of the Stillaguamish, to cover all the exits or any place that Sam possibly could have walked out. And it was this strategy that essentially built the foundation of the search that we're doing now. Because the one thing that Snohomish County Search and Rescue did that really boxed Sam in with their containment was they dropped 3 guys on the far side of this river crossing, and they walked the old Sultan River Road all these miles in to under Vesper Peak. Now, what you need to understand about the old Sultan River Road is, I keep saying road. This was the original road in the area. Even before this lake was here, they dammed this lake for both power and water. The original road was to serve the mines that are up on Vesper Peak, in fact, the Sunrise Mine Trail, the Sunrise Mine. I'll talk more about the mines in a bit. But the point is this road hasn't been used or maintained in literally like 20 years. And then for the 20 years preceding that, it was like a hardcore 4x4 trail that the kind of folks who build a 4x4 for that purpose alone would come up and, you know, they're in a club sort of thing, not just like someone who owns a nice 4Runner or something that would get thrashed. Anyway, so this road is a terrible thing. It's not something that's used often. And so what that means to the search is the day these guys got dropped off and walked in, looking for Sam, it was a blank canvas. Every creek crossing, every place where the old trail actually solidified for a moment, they would have seen footprints very easily on this blank canvas of a trail, and they saw nothing. And, you know, the Snohomish County Search and Rescue people left a 650-page official report. I can show you the thing. It's tedious. It's like reading War and Peace. But out of that entire 650-page report, besides Bob Brady, the tracker's words that got us down to last track, that page is, in my opinion, the most important. It closes up this box and it puts Sam into an area. And I'm going to show you the area that I believe she's in now. And this is my opinion, but this is last track at 5150. And you can see the Sultan River down here. And the old Sultan River Road, the old Sultan River Road continues up the river, but this is the Vesper fork of that used to come up to the old mine. And if you look closely on the satellite images, you can actually see it. It has a lighter color deciduous vegetation instead of the coniferous vegetation that's next to it. And it's slide alder, and it's horrible. I'll show you a picture of what the old road looks like and what a torture session it must be to walk in and out of it. In 7 years of the search, I've never walked in or out on that road. So yeah, it's kind of crazy for all the sensationalism and all the stories you've heard from, you know, traffickers to criminal crap to the boyfriend to UFOs and Bigfoot and whatever else ideas people want to come up with. This is the ground truth. This is the actual reality. This area is where Sam Sayers is, and I promise you that's a fact. And this is one reason I didn't want to, you know, make the video while her mom was still alive, because I didn't want to say anything like, you know, I'll die on that hill, but I'll die on that hill. Sam's in this area, and we can still find her things and put an ending to this story or this mystery. But this is the nature of the North Cascades and how difficult it is to find someone in an area like this.